Facades, a controversial topic within the Laravel community as PHP purists view Facade users as self-creating garbage. As a Laravel developer myself, Facades are extremely easy to use, but the more you dig into them, the more confusing it seems to get. In today's video, I want to demystify Laravel Facades by 1. Showing you how to create your own facade, 2. Showing you how to use dependency injection within your code, and 3. Show you how to bind interfaces and classes within your service provider. If you're new here, like and subscribe to watch more content like this. Now let's get started. First things first, let's open up PHPStorm, and as you can see, I have a freshly installed Laravel application. In today's example, I will be creating a facade for downloading and generating random avatar images. First, we want to create a PHP interface called avatar contract for our facade, and we will have 3 methods. The first function will be called exists, which will take in a string as a parameter to check if an image URL exists. Next, we want to make a method called random, which will generate a random avatar URL while passing in the size attribute. Lastly, we'll create a download method, which will download the image URL passed in as a parameter. Next, we want to create the actual class called avatar service, which will implement the interface we just made. Now we want to import a couple dependency classes by using the use keyword in PHP. These classes include the avatar contract, the HTTP client, and the string helper class. Then we want to implement our avatar contract. Then, in the constructor, inject the HTTP client class. Now we want to implement the exists method where we will return a boolean by checking if the HTTP client returns a 200 response by passing in the URL within the parameter. Next, we want to implement the random method, which will generate a random URL using a third-party service called Pravatar. All we need to do is pass in the size of the image, then return the URL string. Next, we want to implement the download method to download our image avatar. First, we want to check if the requested image URL exists by using the exists method. If not, we will throw an exception. Otherwise, we can download the image into the storage directory by passing the native PHP function copy. Next, we want to head to the app service provider where we'll do 3 things. First, we want to import our avatar service and avatar contract. Then we want to bind our avatar interface to the avatar class, which will allow us to use either the avatar contract or avatar service when we use dependency injection. Next, we want to create an alias called avatar via a singleton, which will be required when we create our facade class. Now we want to create the avatar facade where we will import the abstract facade class, then extend it for our own avatar class. Now we want to overwrite the get facade assessor method and pass in the avatar alias we just created in our app service provider. Now let's see our work in action. First, we want to create a controller by using the make controller command via the artisan console. In this controller, I want to show you the 4 ways to implement the avatar functionality, whether it be through dependency injection, a facade, or the global app helper. Now we want to import our 3 classes, the avatar contract, the avatar service, and the avatar facade. Then within our constructor, we want to inject both the avatar contract and avatar service, which was made possible by binding the 2 in our app service provider. Now we want to create a method called facade, which will use the avatar facade to generate a random image URL with a size of 100. Next, we want to create a method called contract, which will use the avatar interface to generate a random image URL with the size of 200. Next, we want to create a method called service, which will use the avatar service to generate a random image URL with a size of 300. Lastly, we want to create a method called helper, which will use the avatar alias within the global app helper to generate a random image URL with a size of 400. Next, we want to head to our routes file and import the avatar controller and create an endpoint for each method we just created. Lastly, let's head to the browser and hit each endpoint. Using /facade, you can see an image URL with the size of 100 as expected. Now using /contract, you can see an image with the size of 200 as expected. Using /service, you can see an image with the size of 300 as expected. And finally, using /helper, you can see an image with the size of 400 as expected. There you have it. You just created a facade while also learning about the power of dependency injection.